Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 116 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, January 22nd, 2018. As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. Joining me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Marty. Marty's Dutch, a sports shooter and hunter from Southern Ontario. See, I've made fun of you for being Dutch, and I screwed it all up.
Yeah, you tried to change the script.
Yeah. Oh well, that's what we get. Everyone that is someone went to SHOT Show, so it's you and me now. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email the show at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You can find the edit. That's out of date. You can find a version of the show on Stitcher and iTunes, but that shit's not edited anymore. Which reminds me, we cuss a little bit, so you might want to get the kids out of the room about 5 effing minutes ago.
Oh, you don't do the edited version anymore now?
Nah, I haven't got time.
Oh, that's awesome. That stupid sound was terrible.
Not everybody likes the cussing. I was making an effort to make a clean program, but honestly, the way that work has been and getting ready to be a father and everything going wrong all at the same time is just, I don't have the time.
Yeah, it definitely limits your iTunes visibility if you're have explicit tags.
Whatever. I figure we've got all the listeners we're gonna get. I want to thank all 6 of you for tuning in this evening.
Oh, I guess that's on me now?
Yeah, it can be on you, sure. Doesn't matter. I'll fix it in post.
That's how the show notes work? Alright. Well, apparently I still do the social media section because Andrew finds it funny that I must do the thing that I detest. So, visit the social medias. Check out the podcast on Facebook.com. Yeah. Check out the podcast at Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
That 6 viewer thing was a lie. We have 9 people tuned in right now, and probably only 2 of them are married to us. So the odds are good that we actually have more than 6 other listeners. That's also a lie. I see this download stats every week. We get hundreds of people listening to us, but it's funnier this way. Because of our dozens of listeners, though, I'd like to ask everyone for your help to support the show. Go to patreon.com/CPP. Become a Patreon today. You get an uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 an episode. That's still true. It is uncensored on Patreon, but it is a much better encoding rate, so we sound buttery and dulcet, unlike how we sound on the regular free release. And for anyone who's not a communist, if you'd like to spend some money on some capitalism, God, why is in the middle of the show? That's amazing. I'm gonna pause this. I'll be right back.
We are nothing but professionals here at this podcast.
Dehumidifiers, am I right? What were we talking about? Oh, right. So, to show that you're not a communist, you can support capitalism by buying a Canadian Patriot Podcast t-shirt for just $19.99, plus shipping and theft. Visit the CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage. Follow the link on the right. It's on the extreme right. You can't miss it. It's a picture of the t-shirt.
You know, I'd make a comment about how we're off the rails, not even making it out of the intro, but that's relatively normal for this podcast.
I'd say that we're doing pretty well, all things considered. I've had a lot to drink. It's been a Monday. What was I saying? Right, Arrowhead Coffee. We should talk about what are we drinking. What are you drinking? What are you drinking? What are we drinking? Listeners, what are you drinking? Marty, before we do what are we drinking? What Are We Drinking is brought to us by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. Okay, Marty, what are you drinking?
Coors Banquet tonight.
Right on. Not on that keto train, huh?
No, well, as part of doing some home renovations, I've been without a functioning kitchen for the past few days. So I was kind of forced off the keto train for a few days until I get things back in order again.
That is unfortunate, but understandable, and I appreciate you drinking the official beer of the Right Wing Death Squad. I'm drinking 40
It's quite
Creek,
good.
and we also have. I guess we're going to play a drinking game with the listeners. I guess. Don says he's drinking Collingwood and Coke. Baby Goes Pew Pew says she's drinking iced tea, and Patrick says he's drinking Scotch, all caps. It is not necessary to yell at me on the internet, but thank you, Patrick.
The Collingwood is a good choice.
All of those are good choices. All of those.
Collingwood is a good choice.
Play along at home, listeners. Also, don't drink and drive, etc., etc. You're adults. Figure it out. We have an upcoming event. I want to remind everybody that you can go and protest our government's treatment of veterans at Left in the Cold. Colin was on last week to talk about that. It's going to be February 15th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. at Parliament Hill in Ottawa. So go and support veterans that are being abused by our government. We also announced the Matador.
One thing I forgot to talk about that with was it Colin?
Colin.
Yeah, okay. Surprised I remembered that. One of the questions was when I saw the permit that they had, is that there was like stipulations like they weren't allowed to block the sidewalks or that kind of stuff. Like they're not allowed to do anything to like impact the MPs in any negative way. You know what I mean? Like they can't inconvenience anybody that works at Parliament. And it just makes me laugh where it's like, we have veterans here who aren't able to get benefits and that kind of stuff. And they're allowed to go show their dissent as long as they don't inconvenience anybody that works at Parliament.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be incredibly inconvenient if the government had to, I don't know, be accountable to its citizens. That would be terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, Matador Arms.
Last week we announced the winner of the Matador Arms giveaway. That was Andrew H. I contacted Andrew, and he has collected his $100 gift card from Matador Arms. I hope he bought all of the muzzle brakes because that won't get him the Sabertooth chassis, but it'll get him a third of the way there, I think. Go buy some stuff from Matador Arms. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, Matador Arms, they correctly identified us as the best of the podcasts.
We are the best podcast. Some people would say we are the very, very best. All right, let's do the news.
All right.
All right, first one makes me sad.
Coming to segues you have.
Yeah, no, I got nothing. It's like the first time I learned how to drive standard. It's a little rough, but we're gonna give her anyway. Whatever. I managed to drive a standard for years and nothing bad ever happened. Well,
except for when you rolled it.
That time I rolled my truck. Take back what I said. Anyway, segues are not a thing that we're good at. We do have an article from the CBC. Trouble ahead in Canada's beer economy as, I don't understand why this is in quotes, escalator taxes take hold. So this makes me sad. Beer in Canada is very heavily taxed. The tax on the beer is going to go up, and the taxes on the beer are not necessarily at the point of sale. Federal excise taxes on beer happen at the point of manufacture. So if you're a commercial brewery, when you make beer to sell, the government excises, i.e. takes, a set dollar value per hectoliter of beer that you make. And it was $31.84 Canuck bucks last year, and it's going to go to $32.32 in Canuck bucks for 2018. What this means to you as the Canadian consumer, the price of beer will go up. The part about this that makes me especially sad is not that we're paying half of our money on beer on taxes. It's that when your local liquor board sells you beer, they then tax the excise tax with PST and GST. That's right. The government has found a way to tax the tax on your beer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, am I supposed to be shocked here? This,
No, yeah,
I don't know
yes.
what reaction you're
Wow,
expecting here because they do this all the time. I mean, this is something that we've seen repeatedly with them, where they keep, you know, compound taxing.
wow, reacts only, fam. I got nothing else.
So,
This is silly. Like they're driving up the price. It's going to be effectively
so
like a
right
one
now,
and a half
Canada.
percent.
So right now, Canada is ranked third of 28 countries for taxing beer in 2012. So we're working our way up to number one, guys.
Yeah, not something to be proud of. The tax
And
effectively amounts to a 1.5% increase, and it's going to be a 2% increase annually tied to inflation now going forward. This makes me sad because why is the government taxing my taxes? And why are we paying a tax on beer? Like I understand the sales tax on like okay, I shouldn't say that. I yeah, no, I understand the sales tax, like the goods and services tax as a way of the government like generating revenue based on goods and services because we're using federal currency to trade value. So I understand like how GST works. I'm not I don't really understand the excise tax that they're putting on producers at the point of origin on goods, particularly when it's beer and it's like half of the cost of beer is excise taxes.
it's a sin tax, right? It's the same as cigarettes. That's the way I look at it.
So, not to beat a dead horse, but if we're going to tax vices, why do we tax my income at my payroll? Is that a
Yeah,
tax because I work? Should that deter me from working the same way that this is meant to deter me from drinking or smoking?
yeah. I think we've said it before. Like how do you deter behavior? You tax it. We try to deter people from smoking. We try to deter people from drinking. So we add taxes onto them. We want people to drive less to save the environment. So we add extra taxes on the gas. So if taxation is a good way to deter a behavior, why do we tax labor? That's kind of the common argument, and it's absolutely valid. And on that point, right now, beer consumption per capita has fallen by 10% over the past decade. Shocking.
Yeah, it's almost like they keep raising the taxes on it, the price goes up and people buy less of it. It's almost like economics and that whole supply and demand curve thing that we've talked about.
Yeah, and this is it's industry. This is it's employing people. It's creating
It's a
jobs.
$5
And
billion industry. It's 100,000 jobs.
right, and
Like this
as we
this is not a
basically
small industry.
as we sort of kill the market by increasing the price, by increasing the taxation, it's just going to mean more job loss. Like this is not difficult to figure out.
This makes me sad. It also makes me want to brew beer recently, and
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean,
gonna be able to
like
afford to buy
this
beer
doesn't
anymore.
even,
So
when I look at this, and it's like this doesn't even do like a campaign promise or that kind of stuff. Like this even has so little political gain other than the fact that it gets them to a balanced budget. That's only
it won't.
driving
It
factor I
won't
can
even
see
get
out of
them.
this. I mean,
It's not going to get them to a
no,
balanced
because
budget because they keep deficit spending.
I mean, I think the minimum wage is going to be the big push for them to get to balanced budget. But I think this is, all these kind of death of a thousand cuts type of thing. I think that's what they're thinking here. Is just raise taxes all over the place, and cumulatively, that might get them to balanced budget for the election year, and then they can go right back to deficits again.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah. Like you're right about the deficits. But I don't think in any way is the government looking at this going, this is how we're gonna balance the budget moving forward. Is how do we balance the budget for the election year? That's all that matters. After that, they'll go right back to deficits again.
This makes me sad.
Anyways, let's move on.
Okay. Next thing from the Department of Making You Sad. Also global news. $40,000 in whiskey seized from a Vancouver restaurant in a prohibition-style raid. This is really the Department of Making Me Sad. I don't even know if I can like visualize what $40,000 worth of whiskey looks like. I imagine it's a lot of whiskey. Like a lot.
242 bottles worth.
That's a lot. I'm curious what the average cost, for, like the average value per bottle would be. Oh, just $165. So it's a little pricier than the whiskey I normally drink. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So this is the what's the official name of the Department of Making You Sad? The Liquor Control and Licensing Branch of British Columbia's government. Went into 4 restaurants and seized. Well, at this particular restaurant, they seized $40,000. This was at the Fett's Whiskey Kitchen on Commercial Drive, but there were 3 other restaurants that they raided that had received whiskey from the same supplier, the Single Malt Whiskey Society, which is a private club, from what I can understand, or possibly a private liquor store that deals in fine whiskeys.
Yeah, so it seems
YouTube comments
to
are on
me
fire.
like, all right, we'll go with that second. So what I've seen, like what I'm seeing happen here is that this restaurant or chain of restaurants, they purchased this alcohol off license. So they did not buy through their the LDB, like the local what would be the LCBO here in Ontario. They went through a different retailer and purchased their alcohol directly and were then serving it in their bar, which is against the terms of their liquor license. Similarly, on Ontario, you cannot do that as well. Now, this was a practice that's what they're claiming is commonplace and has previously been ignored. It's just now being enforced in this case. But that's sort of the crux of what's going on here.
So the part that I take issue with the Liquor Control License Board is that if they don't have the whiskeys available that consumers want so that a retailer can purchase and then sell it, why is it a term of their license that they have a monopoly on what retailers are allowed to sell? Why are you controlling the economy like that? Shouldn't the industry be able to determine for itself what consumers want to buy and then provide those goods or services?
Yeah, the whole concept of a license, like liquor license to sell alcohol, is completely bullshit. Like,
wait, licensing is bullshit? Color me shocked.
Yeah, like I mean, if that's like if you're gonna make the complaint about that, like let's just talk about the fact the license itself is bullshit, not the fact that you should be allowed to buy things that they don't sell with the license. Like that's just kind of getting nitpicky. Like the license itself is bullshit. But if
you're missing the liquor license, yes, but I'm saying in general, the government granting you permission to be able to do something via a license. The concept of licensing is abhorrent.
Yeah.
I don't mean specifically like liquor licenses. I mean licenses. The government should not be allowed to regulate or dictate what as a consumer, what I'm allowed to do or not do. We have laws for that.
Or as a retailer. Or as a retailer.
Oh, absolutely. As a retailer.
How are they dictating what you as a retailer is providing to your customers? That's up to you as a business to determine what your customers want and trying to provide it for them. Now, like let's say as long as you're doing it legally. So in this country, we do have a minimum, drinking age. As long as they're not, providing alcohol to minors or something like that, I don't see what the issue is with them selling alcohol that they've, accrued that you can't get through their local establishments.
I'm very agreeable to that. This makes me sad. Vancouver sounds like a terrible place. The liquor board there sounds like terrible people.
Dude,
it also is incredibly
this
cucky
happens-
of their.
This happens in this province as well. I know bars that have been shut down for buying off license as well.
Lame. That's all I got.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah, our country
All right,
is going to shit. That's what's happening.
I would argue that we've already achieved shit that we're no longer going, but let's go to
That's
Quebec. And here's some good news about new guidelines for Quebec schools to support trans and non-gender conforming students. No, wait, that's wrong. Gender non-conforming students. That's still wrong, but at least it's the way the article's written now.
Yeah. I feel like the gender non-conforming. I feel like those words can't go together and make sense.
Yeah, would that be because gender is like a binary thing and non-conforming doesn't make sense when you're dealing with binary operations? Yeah. I'm simultaneously confused and angered by this article from the CBC. So this
When
is
your options are a 1 or a 0. You can't choose a third option. There's no
other. In Quebec, it's okay because they've amended the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms to explicitly protect against discrimination based on gender identity. So
did they
I
add?
don't think this.
Did they add to protect against discrimination against the English?
Fun fact: the Montreal English School Board has not yet, I did that in the French order. The English Montreal School Board, so that would be the English-speaking schools in Montreal, has not yet adopted these new guidelines. They're currently reviewing it and will take it under recommendation. So I think that's pretty funny that the English School Board was like, wait a minute, we're gonna consider our options here.
Oh,
there are other school boards in Quebec that are all like, well, the French school boarding in Montreal is already like 100% on board. Gender identities for everyone, except straight white men. No gender identities for you guys. Or can they call them guys? You people? Is it wrong to assume they're people?
I think you have to assume that they're not people. Actually, I think a straight white man, you can't believe them to be people because then you'd have to treat them as humans.
Yeah, this whole guidelines thing, amending the Quebec Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms. Why does Quebec need its own Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms? It's a federal law. Anyway, aside from Quebec being Quebec, National Assembly, anyone. Aside from Quebec being Quebec, the fact that there are school boards that are implementing this to give students the right to their pronoun, I don't follow what they're trying to accomplish here. One of the people that was involved in coordinating the new guidelines, Jacques Perrin, maybe? I'm not Quebecois. I don't Francais. I'm going with Jacques Perrin. Said that if schools don't take action against discrimination against students' genders identities, they can be pursued in court. Where's my button? If the schools don't take action against discrimination against students' genders identity, the school can be pursued in court. It's the school's fault, clearly. It's not at all because we have people in school in Quebec that are being treated as special snowflakes that suffer from gender dysphoria, that are being allowed to behave in snowflakey type ways. This saddens me greatly. Like, the school board doing this, I mean, I want people to be treated as people, like, full stop, people are people, regardless of their religion or views or skin color or orientation, because that's the libertarian in me. If you're not violating the non-aggression principle, do you? But suing the school when a teacher calls a boy student he even though he wants to be referred to as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, is fucking retarded. Just because you want to be identified in a certain way, huh?
What I was gonna say is, in most of these cases, it's that they were called he without asking if he wanted to be called Rudolph the Red-Deer Reindeer.
Yeah, no, pass.
So
Hard
and that's
no.
the thing is like let's be honest, like when it comes down to it, if somebody said to me like, look, I prefer that you use whatever, sure. I'm if it's it's the polite thing to do. I really don't care. If if you want me to call you Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, I don't care. But as soon as you start saying that you're forcing me to and getting the government to force me to, go fuck yourself.
Kind of where I'm drawing the line on this is, if you want to be identified in a certain way, and we can have a like a civil discourse about that, and you would be preferred to address by something other than your name. If I were a teacher, I don't give a fuck. My job's to educate you, not explain to you like how pronouns work. I mean, unless I'm your English teacher, in which case it's explicitly my job to explain how pronouns work, but not to explain how your pronoun works. That would be your sex ed teacher. I need to get a rim shot drop for the board here.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things, like, I don't really give a shit. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you want to be called, you want to be called, you want to be called whatever. But as soon as you're forcing me to call you something, then, you're threatening me with force to do something against my will. I have a disagreement with that.
That's right. That's the part where I take issue with this, is now that school boards and conceivably individual educators are being held responsible for not addressing students the way they want to be addressed. This is not relevant to their ability to learn. This is not relevant to the classroom environment. They should not be entertaining this nonsense in a serious academic environment. Or Quebec is just making the argument that they don't possess a serious academic environment in the school system, which I'd be agreeable to that. The other part that I take issue with this, and I grabbed some stats right from eagle.ca. This is a pro LGBTQ plus 2R MOUSE website. The thing that I'm at odds with is that if they're going to put these regulations in place, they're going to encourage more of these people to adopt the special snowflake behavior, because it's not acceptable in our current year to be a straight white man, or to be a straight person, or to be not a special snowflake, i.e. not have some type of gender dysphoria. The problem that we run into is 7% of youth attempt suicide, youth being a person under the age of 19. 33% of the LGB youth attempt suicide. Why are we enabling people self-harm? Why are we, because this is a socialist system and I have to pay for their medical care, why are we not discouraging this behavior in the public education system?
I mean, I'd almost take it a different way. Why are we talking about forcing teachers to call them by whatever pronoun versus getting them mental health help?
Right. But this is what it comes down to, is we are enabling behavior that has been proven by the argument of the LGBT community to lead to self-harm. We should be discouraging this behavior in our public education system because it's going to affect our public healthcare system. We shouldn't be paying for this. It's not relevant to their education, and it's not doing them, the individuals, the students, it's not doing them any favors.
So that, I mean, it comes down to the argument though is, and I think it's both ways in this situation, is, are they identifying as LGB because of how much it's being pushed in our society right now? I think there's definitely some of them, yes. It's the trendy thing to do, and so they're going that way. There's always going to be those ones that, regardless, they're going to identify of it. And those, like they need help. It's a mental, this is essentially a mental disorder in a lot of these cases. And, they need support and they need help. 33% suicide rate is, that's not just, that's not just a coincidence. You know what I mean? That's way higher than the normal. Obviously there's an issue here and they need the resources. And like, that's where we should be, if you're trying to make a difference in these kids' lives, get them the help that they need. Don't tell the teachers to call them by, don't to call the leprechauns the guy that identifies himself as a leprechaun.
Right. That's where I come down on this. This is behavior that we should not be reinforcing in our public education system. These are troubled individuals that need help. And I'm all for the school supporting them and getting them the help they need. I am not for our socialized systems enabling, for lack of a better term, degenerate behavior that's going to cost the rest of the taxpayers money. Okay, on to something better.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, when you think of, like, historically, if there's somebody that thinks there's something other than they're not, let's not talk about gender or, like, sexual. Anything else. That's a crazy person. Like, the guy on the street that, like, thinks he's Jesus Christ is a crazy person. Why
Wait,
is this not
you're telling me
treated?
the guy at the bus stop is not Jesus?
I mean, you did give him all your money, right?
All the money I had with me, he told me he was Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I tried it once or twice, and eventually, I've been slowly coming to the conclusion that I think he might not be Jesus Christ, but a few more $1,000 worth, and
I don't know.
Then I'll know for sure.
I keep paying him, and my lawn's still not cut.
I don't know the reference.
It's really hard with. It's really hard with the delay.
That was just silence. That was just genuine silence. I don't know what joke you're making on that one. Why is Jesus cutting your lawn?
Well, I think it's pronounced Jesus.
Okay, now I got it. I was trying to think of the biblical story where Jesus cut grass, and I'm like, no, there's the water, the wine, there was the fish thing. I'm like, I don't know where you're going with the grass one.
Yeah, I'm attempting to lighten the mood because this is very black pilly, but I do have a I do have a promo. So for anybody that can't make it to SHOT Show, if you're getting ready for the great melt that is springtime in Canada that brings the return of outdoor shooting, Ragnarok Tactical will be doing an order of your favorite brands, including 511 Tactical, High-Speed Gear, Streamlight, and Blackhawk. Email sales@ragnaroktactical.ca to get a quote. Ragnarok Tactical will beat any in-stock price. Otherwise, the pricing is US MSRP plus 20%. Make sure you use the coupon code PATRIOT at checkout. Spelled just like it sounds, PATRIOT, Patriot at checkout. Shipping anywhere in Canada is $10, and the order deadline will be February 19th. Expect the order sometime in early March.
Awesome. What does the coupon code Patriot do?
It ensures that you get the US MSRP plus the 20%. So you're going to save money on the conversion because the dollar is at 24 cents right now.
Yeah, okay.
So you're going to probably get around a 5% discount on that final sale price. It's just really hard to explain. US MSRP plus 25% conversion, less the 5% for the discount. So we're just making 20%, use Patriot. It's good.
Nice. All right.
To answer the YouTube comments, training schedule for 2018 for Ragnarok Tactical is being worked on. We're negotiating with several ranges. Presently, expect a schedule sometime in the early spring. All right, let's do the Canada Summer Jobs Grant. There's a bunch of good articles, some from National Post, one from something called LifeSite News, which I found very entertaining. The long and the short of it is essentially The Canada Summer Jobs Grant is a federal program to employ students in some sort of a corporation during the summer. The grant is your tax dollars from the federal government being transferred to these private entities to employ a youth in some capacity to give them job experience. They've changed the grant application request this year. There's a new, they're calling it attestation. And this is apparently aimed at anti-abortion groups who've received federal grants in the past. The attestation is a requirement stating that your organization's core mandate respects what are, quotes, reproductive rights, end of quotes, along with other human rights. The online application cannot be submitted unless you check this box. What this means for prospective employers that are looking to take advantage of the Canada Summer Jobs Grant is that if you're, say, a Catholic church, you are not able to honestly click the box for the attestation to receive your government funding for your summer jobs program to hire a student. The government and their interpretation of reproductive rights. How do you feel about that, Marty?
First off, I feel the term reproductive rights seems wrong. It's kind of, this isn't really an issue of reproduction. It's kind of the opposite as such.
Yeah, I can see that argument. I'm pretty okay with this because it's aimed at anti-abortion groups, and I actually would like to see the government aim it at more groups. Because I'd like to see the entirety of the Canada Summer Jobs Program ended. I would like my federal tax dollars to not be being given to anyone ever under any circumstances.
So, okay. Yes and no. So 100% agree with you in that it should just not exist at all. But if it exists at all, it needs to apply to everything and not be used as a way to manipulate sort of thought. Because first off, it's evil for the government to spend money on things like this, to spend your money on things like this, but it's doubly evil for them to spend your money in a way to try to control society.
Hold on, you're telling me that the liberals are trying to control our society by allocating tax dollars to certain preferential groups versus others? I'm shocked, Marty.
Okay, let me try this drop. I don't know if this is going to work.
As for caucus, folks know that I embrace diversity. I'm proud that our caucus has a broad range of views and perspectives on the best way to move forward on things. It's one of the strengths of the Liberal Party, and I encourage a broad range of voices speaking up within the Liberal Party. That's a key part of doing a good job of serving Canadians, of listening to concerns and responding to them.
Well, I have a counter drop.
The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
I just happened to see that was an old one. I didn't know if that was still even the audio behind that button, but that was going back to Trudeau saying that like, diversity of opinion is the strength of the Liberal Party, and yet when he ran, if
you don't do exactly what the caucus says, you're kicked out of the Liberal Party.
Well, they actually forced people out that were running because they disagreed on specifically the abortion, the stance on abortion. If they didn't agree with the Liberal stance on abortion, they were not allowed to run as an MP for the Liberal Party.
But diversity is our strength. Come on.
Diversity of opinion is our strength, as long as your opinion agrees with everything that we say. And that's ultimately like my disagreement here is like, it's the thought control, it's the thought crime that they're trying to prevent here. Whether you're pro-abortion,
that actually brings up a point that I wanted to bring up.
Pro-life, not pro-abortion, pro-life or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, to me, like, whatever your stance is your stance. You're allowed to have that opinion, and that should not affect your employment situation. That should not affect your, like, you have the right to that opinion, just like everybody else has the right to their opinions.
But your opinion is wrong, Marty. You have to understand that the Liberal government has your best interest at heart, and you just need to go and visit the Ministry of Love so that you can understand that.
Yeah. So, and this is where this one really gets... This is a moral decision. This is a moral opinion. So, this is up to everybody's individual morals. This is not a moral... This is not something that you can be right or wrong in. And that's where this is... Unless you're liberal, in which case you're always right. But yeah, this is it's one of those things where this is always going to be an ongoing debate with this issue. It seems. I'm
not even interested in the pro-life, pro-choice abortion debate. Just like how they're allocating my tax dollars is enough of this to rustle my jimmies.
Oh, this whole thing is dumb. I mean, the fact that they're giving money out like this makes no sense whatsoever. You want to create jobs? Leave money in the businesses so that they can afford to hire people. Don't take the money away from the businesses so they can't afford to hire them and then selectively give it back to businesses that agree with your political agenda. That's ultimately the solution here.
Yeah, less government. That would be nice. I'm okay with that. I actually want to go ahead and I'm going to coin a new term. This is what I'm calling liberal tequila. This is the Liberal government claiming that the groups they care most about, students, refugees, children, and people in need, being barred from tax dollars. There are groups, particularly churches, that could be receiving grants from the Summer Jobs Grant Program to hire students to do work in their communities that would directly impact students, refugees, children, and people in need. And the Liberals are not giving those groups money because they differ ideologically from the Liberal platform. I'm gonna keep an eye out. We're gonna see if we can get more liberal tequila stories because this is entertaining for me because they're saying the opposite of what they're doing. I like to point out that hypocrisy.
The word tequila, where did that come from? I'm not familiar with this.
Tequila is a Shia Islamist concept of essentially lying to get your way. The Arabic word tequila, literal translation into English is prudence or fear. But
does this go on the thing where it's like it's okay to lie to infidels?
It's okay to lie to infidels. Exactly. That is exactly what I'm using this for. The Liberal government is it's okay to lie to Canadians as long as we get our way.
Well played, sir.
Yeah, liberal tequila. If you want to use that, that's 10 cents. You throw that in the Patreon, you license that all day out there in Patriot podcast land.
We need a Tim's Good Tea about that.
Oh god. Yeah. We need a Tim's Good Tea for that. Liberal tequila on a Tim's Good Tea. That's a great idea. I'll talk to a guy. We know somebody that makes t-shirts.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some gun news. You want to talk about hex mags? Because I want to talk about hex mags.
What the hell is going on with hex mags?
Nothing. Nothing is going on with hex mags. Literally nothing. What's the... I'm going to refresh the Gun Nuts page and see what we're up to. Oh, good God, it grew again. We are up to 10 pages of responses on Gun Nuts now. And Facebook was exploding earlier. The first place that I saw this just came out today. I Run Guns posted on Gun Nuts that they had received notification from the Canadian Firearms Lab that's run by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police that the Hex Mag 1030 pistol mags are prohibited because of their 10-round capacity and must be restricted to 5 rounds. The reason, according to Iron Guns, is that the tube body is designed to hold higher capacity than 10 rounds, even though it has been restricted. And if you buy these magazines from Iron Guns, they'll be restricted to 5 rounds at the point of import. These magazines are available from a number of other Canadian firearms retailers, the most prominent of which being The place that blew up overnight when these came on the market, Barton's Big Country, who are the official distributor of these magazines in Canada. As far as I can tell, there is no official change in the magazine stipulations from the government. There is no notice from the RCMP. There is no bulletin to declare these magazines are now prohibited, and no other retailer has been issued this warning. I have not been able to reach Barton's Big Country because, unfortunately, I'm the media now. I've actually been trying to reach Barton's Big Country since December regarding these magazines after being directed there by a HexMag customer service rep that I was speaking with in the United States. Because, like I said, they're the official Canadian distributor. So they're the people to talk to. And I've been trying to get an audience with them since December. I feel I'm unlikely to get a response now because they are no doubt flooded with people asking what they're going to do with their newly prohibited magazines. I guess it would behoove us to talk a little bit about what these magazines are.
Okay, no, but before we go into that, I want to talk about the reasoning that now this is now, third-party information from Iron Gun. So this is the information that they've received. But the reasoning here is interesting. So what they're saying is the reasoning behind this that the tube body is designed to hold a higher capacity than 10 rounds, even though it is being restricted. So in this case, the HexMag are essentially the same as a 30-round body, but it's been limited, so it can only hold the number of 10. So if that is the reason for prohibiting a magazine, I would like you to find a magazine, show me, other than single stack, show me a double stack pistol magazine that the tube is not designed to hold higher capacity than 10.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the construction of these, and when we can get into the minutia of the issue, if you will. So the HexMag is effectively a 30-round magazine.
The body's a 30-round body.
So it's the same size as a regular 30-round magazine, whatever that is, better part of 12 inches, right? At least 12 internet inches, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a penis joke. Moving on. Regular full-size 30-round magazine. Nah, it's fine. Regular 30-round magazine body. The magazines are marked pistol. Well, they're marked pistol carbine. They have a maple leaf on them, which is great. Love that. And they are internally limited through 2 different devices to 10 rounds. The floor plate of the magazine has a device, a restrictor, a piece of plastic that will not allow you to load more than 10 rounds into the magazine's body with the spring that they ship you. It's important to note that the spring that they ship you is not the same magazine spring that they would ship you with a full 30-round magazine. So if you were to remove the plastic restrictor, the magazine would not function because there is not enough spring tension. It is not a regular magazine that has been pinned to a lesser amount. It is a regular magazine that has been internally modified so as to only operate with up to 10 rounds. If you take the restrictor plate out of it, nothing happens. If you replace the magazine spring with a different magazine spring, it does not function as designed because it does, like a larger magazine spring does not fit.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, it is permanently modified in such a way that it can only hold 10 rounds. It is specifically marked as
far more permanently modified than a rivet.
I agree. I agree 100%. This is a much more permanent modification than a rivet in a 30-round regular like Magpul PMag or whatever your other USGI AR-15 mag of choice is.
Yeah.
Because unlike the traditional pop rivet pinning system, where you're just restricting the follower from moving down any further, you have physically removed and replaced the magazine spring with a different magazine spring that will only accept up to 10 rounds and still function. This to me seems like a very permanent modification. There is no way to change that unless you, on purpose, illegally create a prohibited device by installing a full-length magazine spring. There is no way to accidentally do that. Unlike having a rivet fall out of a magazine, which I maybe have had allegedly happen to me on more than one occasion.
Yeah. And so, if you look at it, like, what is the verbiage for what defines a pistol magazine? It has to be specifically designed and manufactured for. So in this case, the body itself has a different mold than their rifle mold. This is a separate mold with the pistol verbiage stamped in the side. This is a separate injection molded body specific to the pistol version of this magazine. Then you have the additional piece of the floor plate, plus you have an additional spring, plus the Canadian flag and packaging on Canadian flag as well. So these are 100% designed and specifically manufactured for, with custom components for Canadian market as pistol magazines. To me, this meets all the requirements of a designed and manufactured for, as my interpretation. But the issue is there is no definition for what designed and manufactured for is, just like there's no definition for half the stuff in the Firearms Act. It's all open to interpretation.
Yeah, and this is the problem with our Firearms Act. This is not unique to the magazine issue. What this does open up in my mind, should this end up being true, again, we don't have that confirmed from any other or any other retailer in Canada that they've received any of these notices. This is only from I Run Guns, which is predominantly an importer from the US. Should this end up proving true, is that every double stack magazine will end up being prohibited if you carry this through to its logical conclusion.
Correct.
Not every Stenag pattern AR-15 magazine. Every single double stack magazine in the country will be prohibited if you follow this to its logical conclusion, because of the size of the magazine body.
Right, every Glock mag, every Sig mag, anything like that that's going in a pistol, that is a double stack pistol magazine, has a tube body that is designed to hold higher capacity than 10 rounds. They're limited by a pin or like a rivet or some other means, but the tube itself is designed to hold more than 10. And that is the verbiage that I Run Guns is saying is the reason these are prohibited. So if that's the case, then, as you say, any double stack magazine for any firearm in this country is prohibited.
Right, that's your Swiss Arms mags, your Stenag pattern AR-15 magazines, all of your PMags, any Glock mag that was not specifically manufactured to hold exactly 10 or fewer rounds, every Sig mag, every CZ Scorpion mag, every CZ pistol mag, like every double stack mag, unless it was specifically manufactured to hold 10 or fewer rounds, is subject to this rule because of the way that this is written. Now, of course, there's been no copy of an email or a letter or a bulletin from I Run Guns that I've seen published that actually says that it's from the firearms lab and has this verbiage. This is strictly what was posted on Gun Nuts and social media.
Now, let's talk quickly about the responses of these 10 pages on the CGN.
Well, allow me to summarize the first 9 pages. Cuck. Oh, more cucking.
Holy shit. Like, this is why we're in the situation we're in right now. Firearms owners, like, there is so many posts.
I hate to say it, but I knew this was the case. Get off your high fucking horse. You didn't know this was the case.
And, like, how many posts on here are defending the RCMP, going, obviously these are prohibited because they're they're the same size tube as a 30, and these are clearly just rifle mags that have been, differently injection molded. It had additional floor plates manufactured and a different spring manufactured and put in place. That's clearly not custom manufactured for a pistol, and RCMP is definitely correct in this ruling and shit like that. Like, we are our own worst enemy. Like, if you're on this thread defending the RCMP, like, turn in your man card, turn in your pal, go to Quebec and complain about your gender identity.
I dropped all over you. I'm sorry. I hope you heard that.
I missed what was the drop?
Fuck the police!
Effectively summing up my thoughts on the RCMP's firearms lab.
Yeah, this is just unbelievable.
No, this is entirely believable. This is the continuing RCMP push to take away all of the fun toys in Canada. We can only use AR-15s at the range. These are pistol magazines that are complying with all of the existing laws and bulletins. The bulletins, which by the way are not the law. The RCMP's interpretation, what the firearms law says, is not in fact a law. The firearms lab is there to make determinations on the technical characteristics of the devices which it inspects. It is not allowed to make new laws, which this effectively is.
Yeah.
Again, should it prove to be true, in which case, see my previous drop.
No, it's one of those things that, like, I find it so frustrating seeing firearms owners claiming that these are clearly not specifically manufactured for pistol, when these magazines are probably more so than any other one custom manufactured as pistol magazines. The ATRS magazines are probably the only ones that you could say are more so because they only make the pistol magazines. So, like, they don't have a rifle variant of the same magazine. But compared to anything else, like, these are as custom as it comes.
The whole specifically made for, like, I mean, it's not worth getting into the finer points of the lineage of magazines because the firearms laws here are cucked. Like, the fact that there's magazine capacity restrictions is where the argument should end. We shouldn't have. I shouldn't have to be debating with idiots on the internet about whether these 10-round magazines are legal pistol magazines or not, because it shouldn't fucking matter.
Right.
Like, it's a magazine. It goes in a firearm. That's the end of the argument.
100%, yeah. Like, standard capacity should just be what we have.
They don't even need to define that. It literally does not need to be part of the law because it doesn't do anything except assuage the feelings of the fucking snowflakes that don't want the guns here anyway and aren't going to stop at the current laws. They're just going to keep making them more restrictive, like this one, where they're going to take away more legally owned property from the most law-abiding segment of Canadians.
Yeah. The difference between my 5-round AR magazines and a 30-round AR magazine is an aluminum pop rivet, something I can cut off with my pocket knife.
The difference between me being a criminal and a legal firearms owner is my willingness to follow the stupid fucking law.
Right, but, like, that's the thing, is that it's only the licensed firearms owner that are willing to follow the law. Like, so what does this do for the criminal element? Nothing. So you're taking away, your right and your ability to have a legal, like, a full, like, standard capacity magazine. For what?
For the feelings of people that it's not going to matter to because I still own the rest of my guns. Like, they're appeasing a segment of our society that is vocally opposed to my private ownership of property, where I'm not doing or hurting anyone. I'm just enjoying my own fucking private property, and this is to appease them. And it's one more step down the road of taking away my guns.
Yeah.
I need to get a Charlton Heston drop from my cold, dead hands. Fuck these guys. The
I mean,
cucks on CGN that want to like not like it, if you're on Canadian Gun Nuts and you don't want people to own more capacity magazines, anything past 5 rounds, or if you don't want people to own repeating rifles or self-loading rifles, anything more than a single shot shotgun or a 22, just sell all your fucking guns. You're not a gun owner. Just cut your pal up. Get the fuck out of my helicopter.
Yeah, it's like I'm just oh, god damn it! I just refreshed and I shouldn't have. It's like one of the guys quote saying the simple fact it's not quote permanently quote limited 10 rounds in and of itself should make these illegal in Canada. No. And then, like, somebody else like, yes.
No!
100% agreed. Because the aluminum pop rivet is a permanent modification.
Hear that? That's the sound of me throwing communists out of a helicopter in an extrajudicial fashion.
So... For this guy that thinks the aluminum pop rivet is a permanent modification, I invite him to join, many Canadians who competition shoot both sides of the border. And join them as they drive across the border, arrive at the range where their competition is going to be, drill out the aluminum rivet, use their magazines at full capacity on the state side in their competition, pop a new rivet in on the way home, and drive back across Canada with a limited magazine. And tell me how that is a permanent modification, after having witnessed them use those magazines in a competition effectively with full capacity.
Oh, come, but Marty, if you put the rivet in, it's permanent. It's completely unlike if you use a fucking spring that's the wrong length. Totally different.
Plus a base plate that doesn't allow the follower to go down below the 10-round length.
I hate these people. I hate these people so much.
We are our own worst enemy. I just can't believe the cuckery that's going on in this thread.
These cucky gun owners are my worst enemy. They are people that claim to have the same sensibilities and desires that I have, and they are actively trying to take away my property.
Yeah. Just I don't even know what to say. Like, this is just
I got nothing. Nothing. Got nothing.
Okay. So I think to recap, these magazines are as custom manufactured for this country as they can be. And the definition that's been provided through iRun Guns is such that every pistol magazine is a prohibited device in this country, with the exception of single stack. So I hope you're all stocked up on 1911s.
I don't know if my groaning comes through on the audio, but I'm groaning excessively because this is stupid. All of this is stupid. This entire thing is.
What do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby.
Oh, poorly labeled drop. I thought it just said it's a gay bomb, baby. Thanks, Alex.
I have that one.
It's a gay bomb, baby.
Yeah, that's the one I was expecting to get.
You gotta do some editing, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing. Let's do the next thing. We're going to bring him back the Philpott report. We haven't done a Philpott report in a while. And the reason for that, apparently, is because Jane Philpott is no longer the health minister for Canada. Who knew? Clearly not.
The problem is, though, that's not what stops from doing the Philpott report. What stops doing the Philpott report was there was enough other bullshit going on with our government that we didn't have time to get to the Philpott report.
That's true. We've been putting the Phil Pot
Like
report
Rod-
off for a while.
Like Rod Gotaka, it kept getting bumped.
Yeah, we had to We had to bump him again today. But I've recently learned that there is a new health minister. Jeanette Taylor. So anyway, T Swift is now the health minister. And I guess she hired
God
a
fucking
social
damn it.
media.
You just call her T Swift?
Yes, I did, sir.
You're dead to me.
Anyway, T Swift hired a social media expert, or what may end up being social media experts, plural, at a cost of $100,000 a year, and their sole responsibility is running the Twitter account for the public health minister, or the federal minister of health. I don't even have words for this. Officer of the office of the Minister of Health. It takes the equivalent of 1.5 full-time employees to manage their Twitter account. Now, I haven't been on Twitter recently, but I did a little show prep, and the health minister account has 3,000 followers. Their most popular tweet
daily.
I don't know how many tweets daily, but I'm sure I could find that out in short order.
Let's see. What is $100,000? What does that buy for daily amount of work?
They follow one account. They have 3,000 followers. And they have today one tweet. They have yesterday one tweet. Oh, there was two on the 15th, but there was nothing before that until the 11th. And one on the 10th, one on the 9th, two on the 8th. And then there's a big gap again. There's nothing from the 8th of January. And for fun, let's find out what the Minister of Health is tweeting about. Keeping our kids active in winter promotes health and happiness throughout the season, but we also need to make sure that their #winter fun is #winter safe. And there's a link to a video about tobogganing. Retweet of the Government Canada Health at GovCanHealth. We're hiring. Work as a registered nurse or nurse practitioner in a First Nations community. Apply online. Some link here. No one wants that job.
Okay, so they've averaged about 50 tweets a month.
No. It looks like they're more averaging like 30 tweets a month, maybe if it was a good month.
Okay,
or January was incredibly light.
I'm looking at a CBC article about this, so it's probably lies.
I would imagine it's lies because I'm looking in January and I see 1, 2, 3.
So this is 50 tweets a month is combined for their English and French accounts.
Between the two, because the English account is 13 month to date and it's the 22nd of January. So that's like one every other day.
So let's assume 50 a day.
A month.
50 a month. All right.
Their most popular tweet is a correction notice. It got 28 retweets and 39 comments. This sums up government in a tweet.
So it's $166 per tweet we're paying? Yeah, roughly.
Plus the overtime. You can't forget about that because
that was based on the $100,000.
That was based on the $100,000. But taxpayer work so far since the new health minister came into office, $6,500 in overtime. Remember, if we're lucky, one tweet a day in both languages, and we're not that lucky.
So, no, it's less than that. 50 total. So basically, $170 per tweet.
Yeah, and they're paying them overtime. And this is costing us the equivalent of 1.5 full-time employees.
All right. How many
The
characters
government-
was it? 140?
No,
So it's
Twitter
more
up its
than a
thing. It's like
dollar?
200 and something now.
Oh, so it's a bargain then. It's not even $1 per character.
Yeah, so it's up to 280 characters now. That was changed in November of last year. But in any event, this is thoroughly ridiculous. This is what my tax dollars go towards. We're gonna call boys girls in Quebec if they want to be, and we're gonna pay some person and a half $100,000 a year plus overtime to write a tweet a day.
Well, to be clear though, the Quebec thing, we're just not going to discriminate against boys that want to be called girls, but boys that want to speak English, they're still allowed to be discriminated against.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a drop coming, but there's no drop.
No, I got nothing. I'm just dismayed. This is the Philpott report. These people's only existence is to make me sad and waste my tax dollars.
Yeah, it's same time, $100,000. I'm as anti-social media as it gets, but for $100,000, I'll send out a tweet per day.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Every tweet's gonna be, I just got paid $170 for this tweet. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'll send that out in both of our national languages every day.
Okay, something different. Let's talk about helicopters because we got a question from Andar on the YouTube chat, and he's thinking about getting his pilot's license and wants to know what's better for dropping people out of a Black Hawk or a Huey. And I would think generally a Black Hawk would be preferable. A Swarovski UH-60 has a seating capacity of 11 people plus 2 pilots, and a Bell UH-1 has a seating capacity of 6 or 8 plus 2 pilots. So, assuming one of those is the crew chief and responsible for pushing people out of said helicopter, I would assume that means you could push more people out of a Black Hawk. I hope that helps.
See, I would have thought the Huey.
A Black Hawk is bigger.
Is it bigger? I thought the Huey was larger. I thought the Black Hawk was definitely like more heavily armed.
I don't know. I'm not like a super duper helicopter guy, but the Black Hawk is heavier and longer, and from what I recall, it seats more people.
If it seats more people, then that one. I could be wrong. I thought the Huey was like larger carrying like volume, but like the Black Hawk was like the more weight and armed.
No, the Black Hawk is definitely more heavily armed than the average UH-1.
Yeah, no, that was my point. Yes, I'm saying that the Black Hawk is more heavily armed.
Yes, definitely.
But like I don't need armed. I don't need my helicopter armed to put people out of it.
No, but I'm just thinking you could strap a couple of commies to the pylons on the outside. So instead of like a rocket pod, if you just strapped like a commie to it, like
that's inconvenient though.
Yeah,
I want to be able to have the most people in. I want the most number of people in the what is the cockpit area? Not what is the term for that in a helicopter? I don't know. Cabin. Well, yeah. Which one can take the most amount of people in the cabin? That's what I want to know. That's the one to go with.
YouTube comment again from Andar. He's decided on a Sea King because if he learns how to fly that, they'll drop themselves.
Point.
Excellent. There are only
the problem
40
with the Sea King, though.
ever built, though. So you're going to run out of helicopters well before you run out of communists.
Yeah, and I was going to say that the problem with the Sea King, though, is that it's not selective as to who it drops.
I don't know I don't know how many people you could put in a Sea King either. I would imagine it's a fair number, but I still don't know that it's as big as a Blackhawk. Yeah, whatever. If nothing else, I vote for the Blackhawk just because you could walk into a place and be like, "What up? I got a Blackhawk."
Well played, sir. All right, I mean, you can always just edit this anyways.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. This is staying in. We got no rapid fire feedback.
We got time to figure this shit out.
What shit is that?
Number of passengers.
Are you looking up Sea Kings right now? Are you interning while we speak? Oh, well. All right then.
7 passengers is the first thing that I'm seeing. The 204. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a lot. Oh, what is this one? UH1, 13 passengers.
You can get 13 people in it. Really?
All right. The UH1H. Internal seating is made up of 2 pilot seats and additional seating for up to 13 passengers. So 13 passengers plus 2 pilots.
The UH1H, that'd be a Bell 412 then? Not a Huey anymore. I'm gonna get autistic about helicopters because I can.
Yeah, I'm not up on my helicopter. I Wikipedia'd the Huey. That's what I came up with. So let me. Is the UH1H not a Huey still?
I don't know if that's the traditional Huey is the Bell 212. If it has a rotor going the other way, it's the Bell 412, and it looks exactly like the Huey except for the additional rotor.
Right,
that's
so let's say 15 total with two pilots. And
throw 15 people out of a Huey. There we go. 11 passengers in the Blackhawk, if I'm not mistaken. 13.
13 passengers, two pilots. So most you're getting.
If you want to,
you can do at maximum 13 communists in a Huey.
If you want to be historically accurate, I believe that Chile operated UH-1s. So if you want to be historically accurate when you're throwing communists into the Bay of Santiago, you want to use the Huey. I might edit this out. I might not. We'll see how it goes. Uh-oh. I might have lost Marty. That's even worse.
No, I'm here. I'm
okay,
just,
good.
Like, I'm down the Wikipedia rabbit hole trying to figure out how many passengers the Blackhawk can hold now.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Throw commies from a great height. It will be good for you.
I'd say either are going to be effective. I kind of lean towards the Huey.
Fair enough. Marty, where can everybody find the show?
Let me read the show notes. Facebook and Instagram. Got it. Nailed it.
As always, my name is Andrew. You can find me ragnaroktactical.ca. Come and buy some first aid supplies, or let me know if you want stuff on the middle of February order. Get your order in by February 12th. 511, high-speed gear, Blackhawk, Streamlight. And I'll let you know if I can get it through one of the distributors or directly from the manufacturer, because I can do that in some cases. But not Blue Force gear, because the distributor in Canada for Blue Force gear refuses to process my purchase orders. Apparently my money is just not good enough for him.
It's probably because you're pro-abortion. No, anti-abortion. Anti-abortion. That's the one.
Oh no, I'm all for aborting people. I just don't know if you can do it extra vitro after they're like 40 years old.
Yeah.
There's probably a limit on when you're allowed to do that.
The helicopter abortions are the ones that are frowned upon.
Helicopter abortion is best abortion. No, I'm not making abortion jokes in the show. That's terrible. I apologize.
As someone who's not about to be a father, I can still make those jokes.
Yeah, that's. I regret everything. This has been a show with a lot of whiskey. For all of you folks out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are. Oh shit! I forgot to tell everybody. We tried to get Rod Giltaca on, and I had him lined up this week, but then he bailed at the last minute because apparently he went to SHOT Show. So Rod's in Vegas, maybe next week. For all you listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.